A slight deviation from American cheating, let's talk about cultural differences when it comes to cheating scandals. If you are alive and care about celebrity gossip, obviously you know who I'm talking about. This is Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. They got married in 1997. They are still married, but allegedly got separated in 2016, and their marriage was called into question in 2020. Will and Jada have always had an interesting marriage and an interesting positionality in the American pantheon of celebrities, especially amongst black celebrities, because they have been married for so long. They're such an iconic power couple. They are deeply respected and people love them, but there's always been an air of mystery. And obviously, I'm not a gossip account. I'm here because I study the way that we as a society talk about celebrities and cheating scandals. But they've always occupied this really interesting space because there have been so many rumors about their marriage for so long. And then in a shocking twist, one of the rumors was actually true. In 2020, August Alsina came forward and said that he had a couple of year-long situation with Jada Pinkett. If you remember, you very, very well remember the word entanglement, which entered the American lexicon. Jada Pinkett then did a interview on the Red Table where she admitted to the entanglement, and she said that her and Will had been separated for a long time. They just weren't public with it, so it didn't really count as a cheating scandal. The reason I'm making this video, because someone asked me to and I lost their comment, but the reason I'm making this video is because the cultural perception to it was really interesting, or the cultural reaction to it was really interesting, with a lot of people being either nonplussed or kind of whatever. Or on the other side, a lot of people were sort of clowning Will, and there was this question of masculinity. There was this question of him having his woman taken from him, right? All of these ideas about ownership and monogamy and being in a relationship, especially with the rise of all of this relationship content that's marketed to both, white communities and black communities online. But this relationship content that is a little bit conservative, a little bit traditional, where people are why did you let your woman step out? All of that happened. This all came to the forefront again in the 2022 Oscars, where Will Smith infamously slapped Chris Rock for talking about Jada Pinkett's alopecia. This is where it gets a little bit murky, because I feel like I'm not going to litigate the slap, and I'm not going to litigate any of the politics of the relationship, right? They may or may not be separated, but they are married. And so people sort of openly talking shit about their marriage and talking about both of them. In American society, and especially with straight couples and monogamous couples, there is this idea that you are a unit, you are a closed rank, and that other people can't come and talk shit about you. You have to defend each other's honor. There's all of this lore and prestige around the relationship where you guys have to protect the familial unit as a thing. What's interesting to me is that Chris Rock is one of their contemporaries, right? They are all of the same ilk. They're all black. They're all very wealthy. They're all very famous. And so it almost felt like he was breaking some sort of, or breaching some sort of code by openly talking about their marriage when nobody else really did, right? Everything we've learned about their marriage has been from Jada, honestly. And with other very famous black couples, we also see this valorization of the family unit, right? So this is less a cheating scandal and just a weird sort of breakup situation, but Dwayne Wade famously had a baby with somebody else. Cardi B and Offset is a fucking disaster, so I shouldn't even be putting them on there. But people wanted her to stay with him, right? Because they had kids. They're getting divorced and he's really toxic. But there was a point a couple of years ago where people were no, stay with him, even though she got arrested for beating those girls up. Kevin Hart also famously had a cheating scandal with his wife, Aniko Parrish, and nobody talks about it anymore because they stayed together. So in a way, it's interesting because there's almost more grace given to them because they've been together for so long and because they're so iconic. But also when it comes to black celebrities, I'm noticing that there is a pattern of not as many people being you have to leave him, right? And again, I'm not saying that this is the black community saying this. I'm saying in general, whenever there is a big cheating scandal with a black celebrity, the reactions are slightly different than they would be when it's white celebrity. And sorry that I wasn't saying that earlier. The app censors the video if I am too explicit.